Your life will never truly change until you accept full radical responsibility for everything you are today and everything you will become tomorrow. And this kind of responsibility is not the ordinary kind people talk about casually. It is not the light responsibility of doing your homework, paying your bills, or completing your tasks on time. Radical responsibility goes far deeper. It means standing face to face with the truth of your life without excuses, without filters, and without running away from the parts of yourself that make you uncomfortable. It means acknowledging that your choices, whether big or small, conscious or unconscious, are shaping your destiny every single day. And because of that, you hold more power over your life than you've ever realized. When you fully understand this, something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop blaming people, situations, and circumstances for where you are. You stop waiting for others to make things right for you. You stop expecting the world to feel sorry for you or deliver opportunities to your doorstep. You let go of the belief that your past has the authority to dictate your future. You begin to see that everything you desire, growth, success, healing, purpose, peace, confidence, transformation, begins with you and ends with you. This is the moment when your life stops being a story of why things are going wrong and becomes a story of how I am making things right. Radical responsibility requires courage because it forces you to admit that you have played a role in the problems you face. It demands honesty because you must look at your habits, your attitudes, your fears, your lack of action, and your unhealthy patterns without lying to yourself. It demands discipline because the responsibility you accept today must show up in your decisions tomorrow. But most importantly, it demands a shift in mindset, a recognition that you are not powerless, that you are not stuck, that your current reality is not a life sentence, but a starting point. When you stop looking outward and start looking inward, the world around you begins to change. Instead of asking why people don't support you, you ask how you can support yourself. Instead of asking why opportunities don't come, you ask how you can create them. Instead of asking why life is difficult, you ask how you can rise above the difficulty. The moment you turn the questions inward, you ignite a fire of transformation. Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one else can make you disciplined. No one else can give you passion. No one else can force you to believe in yourself. These are choices you must make, responsibilities you must accept, and actions you must take. There is a powerful shift that happens when you take radical responsibility. You stop being a victim of your life and start becoming the designer of it. Victims are always waiting, always blaming, always hoping circumstances will change. Designers are building, creating, shaping, improving. Victims see barriers. Designers see blueprints. Victims see problems. Designers see possibilities. The difference between these two ways of living is not talent, education, background, or luck. It is responsibility. The moment you say, "My life is in my hands," your entire future rearranges itself. Radical responsibility does not mean you are at fault for everything that has happened to you. Life is full of events outside your control. People will hurt you. Situations will disappoint you. Circumstances will knock you down. But responsibility is not about blame. It is about power. It means that even if something was not your fault, your healing is still your responsibility. Your growth is still your responsibility. Your future is still your responsibility. You might not have chosen the pain, but you must choose the recovery. You might not have created the situation, but you must create the solution. This is where true strength begins, in refusing to let what happened to you decide what happens next. When you take control of your thoughts, something remarkable happens. You stop letting negativity rule your decisions. You stop letting fear dictate your actions. You stop letting doubt sabotage your potential. You begin to notice the patterns of thinking that have been limiting you for years, and you consciously replace them with beliefs that empower you. Responsibility teaches you that your mind is not a cage. It is a tool, and when used correctly, it becomes the strongest weapon you have. You realize that life does not get better by chance. It gets better by choice, and you can only make those choices when you accept responsibility for your mindset. Then comes the responsibility of habits. Your habits are the invisible engines that drive your life. They may seem small and insignificant, but over time they add up, shaping your relationships, your health, your finances, your emotions, and your identity. When you accept responsibility, you stop saying, "I can't help it," and start saying, "I will change it." You start waking up early instead of hitting snooze. You start reading instead of scrolling mindlessly. You start exercising instead of making excuses. You start practicing discipline instead of waiting for motivation. Your habits become reflections of your future, not reminders of your past. Radical responsibility forces you to examine your environment, the people you surround yourself with, the energy you allow into your life, and the expectations you tolerate. You begin to realize that your environment is either lifting you up or pulling you down. Responsibility means choosing relationships that support your growth, not your stagnation. It means distancing yourself from negativity, not because you are better than others, but because your future deserves better energy. It means being selective about who you share your dreams with, because not everyone is capable of seeing your vision. Responsibility teaches you that you are not obligated to remain where you are if it is killing who you are becoming. One of the most profound effects of radical responsibility is that it eliminates the illusion of the right time. So many lives remain unchanged because people are waiting for confidence, for approval, for direction, for signs, for opportunities. But responsibility exposes the truth. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. The people who change their lives forever are the ones who stop waiting and start acting. They understand that the first step does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be taken. When you decide that today is the day you will start, everything begins to unfold differently. And when you embrace responsibility, you realize that the timing you once waited for has been in your control all along. Responsibility also transforms how you see failure. Instead of taking failure as a sign to give up, you see it as a message, a lesson, a doorway. You understand that every mistake teaches you something essential. Instead of hiding from failure, you study it, learn from it, and grow through it. Responsibility shows you that failure is not the enemy, it is the instructor. And every time you fail but continue forward, you take ownership of your growth in a way that changes you forever. When you embrace radical responsibility, you develop an inner confidence that cannot be given by others or taken away by circumstances. This confidence is not loud or arrogant. It is steady and unshakable. It comes from knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you have the power to respond with intention, courage, and strength. You develop trust in yourself because you see yourself making decisions that honor your future rather than your comfort. You feel proud of the person you are becoming because it is a person you built with discipline, accountability, and self-respect. And this leads to one of the greatest rewards of responsibility: freedom. The freedom to choose your path, the freedom to break old patterns, the freedom to rise above your past, the freedom to create a life that reflects your strength, your purpose, and your potential. When you take responsibility for your life, you no longer fear the future because you know you are not at the mercy of it. You are shaping it, designing it, directing it. You become powerful in a way that no external force can weaken. In the end, radical responsibility is the gateway to a life of meaning, growth, purpose, and transformation. It is the foundation of success, the birthplace of discipline, the fuel of confidence, and the driver of destiny. Every great breakthrough begins with the decision to stop waiting for change and start becoming the change. When you accept that you, not luck, not your past, not your circumstances, determine the direction of your life, you unlock a level of freedom, clarity, and control that truly changes everything. And once you step into that power, your life will never be the same again. Your life changes the moment you change your identity, not just your goals, because goals alone are never enough to create the kind of transformation people dream about. Most people spend their entire lives setting goals. They want to earn more money, get healthier, build confidence, improve relationships, start a business, break old habits, or become more disciplined. But after the excitement fades, they fall right back into the behaviors, thoughts, and patterns that kept them stuck. This happens because goals live in the conscious mind, but identity lives in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious always wins. A person can say, I want to be confident, but if deep down they still believe they are unworthy, shy, or incapable, then every goal they set in the direction of confidence collapses under the weight of that old identity. Change never lasts until the identity changes first. The truth is that people do not rise to the level of their goals. They fall to the level of their identity. They act in alignment with who they believe themselves to be. If someone believes they are undisciplined, they will keep skipping routines no matter how many goals they set. If someone believes they are unlucky, they will overlook opportunities even when they are standing right in front of them. If someone believes they are not good enough, they will sabotage progress before it can become success. Identity creates behavior, behavior creates habits, habits create results, and results create your life. So when people ask why nothing changes for them, it often comes down to one reason. They set goals for a future self while living as their old self. Real life change begins when you stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, who must I become for the life I want? This question changes everything because it forces you to shift the conversation from desire to identity. If you want confidence, you cannot stay a person who avoids challenges, hides their voice, or fears judgment. You must become the kind of person who speaks boldly, expresses thoughts clearly, and stands tall even when nervous. Confidence is not a goal, it is an identity you grow into through repeated action. If you want success, you cannot stay the person who procrastinates, makes excuses, or waits for motivation. You must become someone who is consistent, disciplined, focused, and deeply committed to their own growth. Successful people are not defined by luck. They are defined by the identity they practice daily. They wake up early not because someone forces them, but because their identity pulls them. They work on their vision not because it feels easy, but because it aligns with who they believe they are. When you change your identity to someone who succeeds, success becomes a natural result. If you want peace, you cannot stay a person who reacts emotionally to every situation, who holds on to grudges, or who constantly rewinds the past. Peace demands a different identity, someone who can pause before reacting, who chooses clarity over chaos, who refuses to let external noise disturb internal balance. Peace is not a gift. It is a discipline, a mindset, a new identity that you train into existence. It begins with changing how you interpret stress, conflict, and negativity. Identity is the engine behind your actions, and actions shape your results. Every time you act in alignment with a new identity, you strengthen it. Every time you act in alignment with an old identity, you reinforce it. And this is why change feels hard. The old identity fights to stay alive. It is familiar, comfortable, predictable. Even if it limits you, it feels safe because it is known. Your brain loves what is known. It resists what is new. Changing identity means stepping into the unknown, practicing behaviors that feel uncomfortable, and thinking thoughts that contradict old beliefs. But inside that discomfort is the doorway to your future self. The story you tell yourself becomes the story you live. If you say, I always fail, you create a life where failure becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say, I'm not good at anything, you stop trying and then use the lack of results to confirm your belief. If you say, I'm destined for greatness, you act like someone who is growing, learning, improving, and moving toward that greatness. Identity is shaped by stories. Many people live inside stories that were written for them by childhood experiences, old trauma, past failures, or the opinions of others. But the moment you rewrite the story, everything shifts. You take the pen back from your past and begin constructing your future. True transformation begins the moment you decide to believe something new about yourself. But belief is not imagination. It is repetition. You build belief by acting like the person you want to become, long before you feel like that person. You become disciplined by practicing discipline. You become confident by practicing confidence. You become successful by practicing successful habits. Identity is built through evidence, and the only way to gather evidence is through action. This is why the smallest actions matter so much. When you do something even once, you give yourself evidence that you are capable. When you do it again, you strengthen that identity. When you do it consistently, it becomes who you are. Identity transformation is powerful because it creates lasting change instead of temporary motivation. Motivation fades, but identity stays. A motivated person goes to the gym for a week. A person with the identity of an athlete trains because it's simply who they are. A motivated person reads a book once a month. A person with the identity of a learner reads because curiosity is part of their nature. A motivated person saves money until they feel restricted. A person with the identity of someone financially wise saves because their long-term vision outweighs short-term desires. Motivation is unstable. Identity is permanent. Changing your identity requires deep honesty. You must be willing to ask yourself, who am I right now? What beliefs do I carry about myself? Which of those beliefs serve my future and which ones sabotage it? What fears are shaping my decisions? What patterns am I repeating? Many people fear asking these questions because they do not want to confront the gap between who they are and who they want to be. But this gap is the most important place in your life. It is where growth happens. It is where transformation begins. It is where you evolve. When you shift your identity, your environment must shift with you. The people you surround yourself with influence the identity you hold. If you spend time with people who complain, you become a complainer. If you surround yourself with people who are disciplined, you begin to adopt their habits. If your circle is filled with dreamers, visionaries, thinkers, creators, your identity naturally rises to match. Identity is contagious. This is why the right environment accelerates growth and the wrong environment destroys it. You must protect your identity by protecting your surroundings. Identity transformation requires you to let go of the version of yourself that feels familiar but unfulfilling. Many people cling to old identities because they are afraid of who they might become. They fear judgment, change, uncertainty, and the responsibility that comes with growth. But holding on to old identity is what keeps people stuck in cycles that repeat year after year. If you want a life you have never lived, you must become a person you have never been. You must release the you that was shaped by fear, by insecurity, by past mistakes, by other people's opinions, and step into the you that is shaped by purpose, intention, and vision. Your identity drives your decisions. Every decision you make today is either moving you closer to your future or pulling you back into your past. When you see yourself as someone strong, capable, and worthy, you make decisions differently. You walk differently. You speak differently. You show up differently. You take your dreams seriously. You stop negotiating with procrastination. You stop entertaining old patterns. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop settling for less than you deserve. Transformation begins internally long before it becomes visible externally. People will see your results later, but you will feel your identity shifting first. Your mind becomes clearer. Your habits become stronger. Your thoughts become more aligned. Your decisions become more intentional. You begin acting from a place of self-respect rather than self-doubt. You begin trusting yourself with your own future. This internal shift is where real power comes from. Changing your identity does not mean pretending to be someone you are not. It means letting go of everything you are not and growing into everything you are meant to be. You are not limited by your past. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are not trapped by your fears. You are not confined to the expectations others had for you. Your identity is not fixed. It is fluid, evolving, transformable. You can choose who you want to become. You can rebuild your beliefs. You can reconstruct your habits. You can redesign your life. The moment you stop chasing goals as an escape and start becoming the person who naturally achieves them, your life changes forever. Goals become easier because they match your identity. Success becomes natural because it aligns with your habits. Confidence becomes effortless because it reflects your beliefs. Peace becomes consistent because it mirrors your mindset. You do not have to force change anymore. You embody it. Your identity shapes your reality, and the moment you shift who you believe you are, you shift what becomes possible for you. When you change your identity, you change your life.